Welcome to Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford. Expert advice on improving your home from the pages of Today's Homeowner magazine and professional remodeler Danny Lipford.
Now this is a stage in a remodeling project where the driveway literally fills up with subcontractors. We've got the air conditioning man, we've got the electrician, the plumber, phone man, everybody rushing to get all of the mechanical systems inside the walls before the sheetrock goes up. Now the project we're following is one where it's a whole house renovation, and we're adding on several additions to the rear of the house for a new master bedroom, new kitchen, and a nice large great room. Now we'll talk with the homeowners a little bit later in the show about their perspective on the job and why they believe the saying, "Don't move, improve." And we'll talk with a lighting consultant who worked closely with the homeowners to design all of the lighting and lighting fixtures that are going in this project. We've got a lot to show you over the next 30 minutes, so stay with us here on Today's Homeowner. You know, one of the primary goals the homeowners had with this renovation is the creation of this master bedroom. They really felt like they needed a little more bedroom area. Now, you know, you may talk with friends or neighbors that have gone through a remodeling project, and they talk about what a headache it can be. Well, it can be a headache without proper planning and a great attitude. Now, we were lucky here in that the homeowners were able to relocate to a nearby rental house that allowed them to still be involved in the remodeling project but not go through all of the stress that may be related to it. Also, it allowed us to move a lot more aggressively on the job since we didn't have the homeowners in the house. Now, the homeowners here have a great attitude and are really helping us move this project along by making some selections early. They're on the job now.
You know, this is really starting to come together. You
It
know,
is.
the planning that we had done, seeing the things on the plan, and now seeing how this is turning out.
Yeah, a lot of progress, huh?
It's coming
Certainly.
along great. We're
It's
very
wonderful.
excited.
Well, I'm sure at this point you're glad that you found a house to move into during the renovation instead of trying to stay in this.
Yes, I don't know how we could have lived through all this. Of course, it speeds the process up also.
It does. It helps us a lot in being able to be a little more aggressive in the remodeling. When a homeowner stays in the house, you have to work things a little bit different,
Yeah.
and
Well,
also the stress level is a little higher.
We were
so.
fortunate that we have an enclosed garage that's
Mhm.
secure, so we were able to store a lot of our things in the garage and not take everything to the rental house to have to move it right back. Plus, the rental house, obviously very small, so we were fortunate that we did have a secure area to store excess pots and pans or pictures or just things. So,
Right.
so that worked out great for us.
Now, the motivation behind the remodeling, of course, you needed a little extra space, you needed to modernize a little bit, but you're also considering a new house. And I know it's a tough decision to go with a new house or go with a remodeling project like this. Tell our viewers a little bit about that thought process.
Well, first of all, we felt like we had a great location. We loved our neighborhood. We had a large backyard, which in this point in our life we still wanted. And we felt like we would be giving up two things to get one. If we stayed here, we could still have the location, the size of the large lot, and a new home.
Okay. Now, what are some of the specific things that you really disliked? Obviously, we need a little extra room here, but what are some of the areas in the house that you just had to have changed?
Before she answers that, she's a great cook. We had a very small kitchen. We share cooking duties occasionally and cleaning and things, so it was kind of hard for both of us to be in the kitchen. So
It was really cramped.
it was kind of small, and plus we like to do entertaining, so you know, there's a flow there that goes, you know, when you're preparing and doing whatever with your friends. So it was still small. Plus, I have a home office with computer equipment, things of that nature. So I had a very small home office. And,
He had outgrown it.
oh yeah,
Okay.
so now I'm on the other end of the house with a much larger office, so I can spread out and not interrupt my wife when she's doing other things there.
The family room was another issue too. We wanted it a little bit larger, plus we didn't have any natural light. It was a dark house, so we felt if we could get some more windows and a little bit more space in there. The bathrooms, the house was built in 1965 and it was still the original bathrooms, the pink tile and the avocado, so we felt we would enjoy getting rid of that.
Well, that makes a big difference, and everything that you're doing to the house are high on the resale value as well. So, you know, if you decided to change your mind in 5 or 10 years and move on, anything you're doing here really is going to work out well as far as resale.
We had peace of mind about that
Yeah.
also.
We looked at all of that from a financial standpoint. It just made sense, and because The neighbors, we have wonderful neighbors, a terrific neighborhood, and we thought, well, you know, if we decide to sell this 5, 6, whatever down the road, then we certainly would be able to get our money back out.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to keeping up with the progress of the job and checking back with you later in the job. And we've got a couple more months to go, and you seem to be holding up real well, so we'll check back on that. And stay with us next as our Simple Solution segment.
Get ready to review your fix-it list as Danny and home repair pro Alan Lyle show you this week's Simple Solution.
Now, many times you'll have situations where you'll want to save the molding that you take off a wall to reuse later in a remodeling project. Now, in this case, we're putting ceramic in this room, and we need a little more space under the baseboard. Alan, tell our viewers how we can save this without damaging the wall.
All right, well, first thing you'll notice is that I'm cutting the top of this board between the baseboard itself and the wall with a razor blade. The reason why is we want to cut that caulking that's actually holding that baseboard to the wall. That way we won't damage the wall when we pull out the baseboard. Next, we're going to take our ever-popular flat bar. This is a great tool, by the way, to keep handy. And we're going to pry this down, a little bit of pressure, between the baseboard and the wall to get it started. Now, what's important if you're doing this at home is that you don't want to pry that bar and damage your wall. So we're going to use a 2x4 block as leverage to pull that away from the wall. Danny, there's also another way that you can do this.
Well, actually, this is one way that we're able to pull the wood from the nails. Another way, if you can see the nails in the front of the baseboard, you can use a nail set, a common nail set, and actually knock the nails back through. Then you can just pull them out of the wall later. But this one being painted so much, it makes it a lot harder to really find the nails. Now here we're lucky in that the nails actually stayed in the wall, but in a situation where the nails would hang into the board itself, it's not a good idea to drive them back through because it can really blow out the front of your board and really make it not very feasible to reuse it.
That's
now,
right.
Alan, if you have a situation where the nail's in there, another way is to use the pliers.
That's right. In fact, I can demonstrate on the wall here. You can take it from the back and just use that to pry that nail out from the back without ever damaging the front at all.
Now, molding can be real expensive, and it is feasible to start reusing it anytime you can. And actually, when you're storing it, put a little piece of masking tape on it, group all the pieces of molding together, then you can mark them and know right where they go when you're ready to put them back up. Now, one of the hottest jobs out on this project is that of the roofer. Now, he was here a few days ago and was able to complete the majority of the new shingles that are being installed. Now, he started out by laying out very carefully all of the layout for the shingles, then used a chalk line as his guideline to nail on the shingles. Now, he made great progress and installed about 20 squares of shingles in less than a day by using an air-powered nailer. Now, one area he didn't complete was the area that you see here, which is one side of the rear porch. Now, the reason for that is the brick mason will be in a day or two, and he'll be installing bricks on this wall, and he'll allow it to carry on up through the gable. This will match the way the original part of the house is, since the bricks are in the gable on both ends of the house. Now, after the brick mason completes that work, the shingle installer will come back and tie the shingles back into the bricks and then install some sidewall flashing to prevent any leaks in that area. Now, you know, over the years on a house like this, you add some cable TV outlets, you maybe add a couple phone lines, and what happens is you end up with little boxes tacked all over the outside of the house and a menagerie of wires that generally will be stapled up underneath the overhang area. Well, the homeowner really disliked this look, and I can't blame them. And during this process of remodeling, we're correcting that by bringing all the new lines out to this one wall, kind of making a utility wall out of it. Since we already have the electrical service coming in on this area, we had the phone company bring their lines out on the same side. Now, it used to be years ago that a single family dwelling like this just had one phone line, and that was as simple as it was. But nowadays, especially since we're having a home office being built in this house, we need multi-phone lines, fax machine, computer, and so forth. So this is something that you need to think about if you're doing a remodeling project of any kind along these lines. Try to go ahead and think of these kind of things, and it'll prevent having all those wires running around the outside of the house. Now, talking about wire, the electrician is in the process of pulling hundreds of feet of wire on the inside of the house. Now, obviously, this is the old sub panel here in the house, and we'll have to replace it for several reasons. One, the location is not good in terms of the code. They won't allow us to put it in a kitchen area. Also, it's just not big enough capacity-wise to handle all of the new wiring that's taking place. Now, all of the new wiring going overhead, coming back, and ending up here. This is what we call our home runs that'll tie into the new sub panel location, which will be in this wall facing out into the garage. Now, you know, I mentioned earlier about the roofers having a hot job. Well, I believe the air conditioning and heating men have just as hot a job. Well, the new unit is in place here in the attic, and I mentioned earlier that it may be a little warm up here. The thermometer is over 110 degrees right now. Now, the earlier unit, or the old unit that was removed, was not very efficient and actually was about 16 years old. Also, it really didn't have the capacity to handle the new living area that we've added to the house. With the new unit, we'll be far more efficient, as well as having the capacity for all of the new area that we have, and certainly should save the homeowners money in the long run because of its efficiency.
It's time to check out the Home Center for this week's best new product with Danny and today's Homeowner Magazine's editor-in-chief, Paul Spring.
Paul, I notice each year when you and your editors put together the best new products list, you're looking for products that are solving problems, and here's a good example of how a product is solving an age-old problem of a tangled-up hose.
That's right. Hoses can be a real pain in the neck to coil up, particularly when the weather gets cold and they begin to kink. And the traditional way to deal with that is just a hose reel. This is a super example of a hose reel. Let me show it to you, Danny.
That's a little larger than normal.
It is. It takes 250 feet of hose. It's really hose central. It means that you can pretty much service your entire yard from just one location. It's got the connection right here to the hose bib. That's the inlet for the water, and on the other end, you stretch as much hose as you'd like. You disengage this little pin right here and just pull on it. It's very easy to pay out the hose. And then, when you want it back in, there you go. You engage the handle and crank away.
Well, it works real easy there.
It's got a guide that distributes that all along the reel, so you get a nice, even location for the hose, and it comes back out easily.
I notice a little place even to snap the hose in right there to keep it from getting astray or anything.
There are a lot of little niceties on this. You can see the storage device, and in fact, if you pull up on this handle, you can put it down for easy storage, but once you put it up, you can actually change locations with this. If you want to reel it into the backyard, there you go. It's called the Coil Master.
Really, the windows here will help a lot in getting that natural light into the kitchen. You know, one of the things we found is homeowners have a hard time visualizing what a project will look like by just looking at the blueprints. Now, that's especially true when you're talking about a lighting design. To help us, Vivian Davis, a lighting consultant. Now, Vivian, we're in the kitchen area and the expanded eating area. How are you going to light up this?
What we're going to do recessed lights in the kitchen. We're going to just do general lighting. Put 4 recessed lights in there. Then we're going to do decorative pendants over the bar area.
Okay, so those will hang down, and I guess that will also be switched individually.
They're going to be switched separately, yes.
Okay, all right. Now, I know this gives good even lighting in this area, but what about the eating area over here? You know, a lot of times homeowners really don't want to obstruct their view to the outside by the traditional hanging fixture. How will you handle that?
That's correct. We're going to just put a surface mount decorative fixture over in the eating area. It's going to coordinate with the decorative fixtures we're doing over the bar.
Okay, great. Well, that'll give good even light, and of course the different recessed lights being placed here, but I know there's a couple cabinets back here. What about some lighting back here?
We're going to do under-counter task lighting to light these areas up for food preparation.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, the great room. Now, this is one of the larger rooms in the house. I'm anxious to know how you're going to handle this much space.
What we're going to do here, Danny, is put recessed lights around the perimeters of the room.
Okay.
This is insulated can, or a non-insulated can. We can put either a 75-watt bulb in this if we put insulation on it, or it can go up to 150 if we don't.
Okay.
It has a safety protector, thermal protector, if we overlamp it.
Okay.
It'll
actually cut it off automatically.
That's correct. It's a
Okay.
process called cycling.
Okay. And of course, any room like this has to have a ceiling fan. I know you'll be providing a ceiling fan in here as well.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, the master bathroom areas is another area that you really have to pay a lot of attention to how that lighting goes in. I want to see how you're handling that.
Okey-doke.
Well, Vivian, I guess once the window is completely cut out, that'll get some good natural light here in the master bath.
Absolutely, Danny. And because of the natural light, we've decided to go with an overhead fixture,
Okay.
a decorative fixture that will coordinate nicely with the vanity lights that we'll be doing.
Okay, now tell us about the vanity lights and explain to our viewers why the wire is wormed in the wall and not protruding out of the wall.
That's because electricians don't know what's on the homeowner's mind usually.
Right.
They never know what they're going to pick, if they're going to change their mind on what they're going to pick. So what we do, we just sheetrock over, and then once the fixtures come out, they'll pull the wire through, make a cutout, put a box in, and center the fixtures nicely.
Good. And that keeps that decision to where it can be decided at the last minute. That way, if it's a double sconce or just a single fixture, or the homeowner wants it a particular height, then there's not a hole in the wall that you have to deal with right at the last minute. Now, I know most states require exhaust fans in any bathroom that doesn't have an operable window, a fixed window like we have here. So I know one was required here, but you really recommend that almost any bathroom, don't you?
Yes, we do, because it helps keep the humidity out of the room too. And this bathroom, we decided to do a combination of vent and a light.
That really helps to keep the kind of the clutter off of the bathroom ceiling, doesn't it?
Yes,
Instead
it
of having
does.
all these different fixtures up there, combining that really works well, doesn't
It
it?
sure does.
Okay, all right. Now give our homeowners just a few tips of what they need to consider in their next remodeling project when they're talking about lighting.
What they want to think about is what are they going to be doing in this room. Put several switches with dimmers so you can have lots of light, low light. You can adjust your light levels, have some high, some low. It creates a good dramatic effect in the room too. And that way you're ready for using the room in different ways.
Okay, good. Well, there's so much to consider, and I appreciate you talking with us about some of the lighting design here, and you've done a great job.
pleasure.
Next time we visit with you, we'll come down to the showroom and look at some of the fixtures that are going in this job. And
Now for a bit of news from the great outdoors as Danny takes a look around the yard.
there's an old saying when you're planting plants, is to dig a $10 hole for a $5 plant. Well, a lot of plants can cost more than $5 these days, but the idea is to dig a much larger hole than you actually need. This will really allow room for you to add peat moss or mulch around and under the new plant. Peat moss or mulch really will help to hold the moisture in, and it also encourages the roots to grow. Now, after planting your new plant, press the soil firmly around the plant and use a garden hose directly at its base. This will help to settle the soil to prevent any voids around the roots that can actually kill the plant. Also, adding a ground mulch such as pine bark or straw will help the plant to flourish. Also, remember, your new plant's best friend is plenty of water every day, especially during the first month. Well, with all the sheetrock on the job, that really puts the pressure on the electrician, plumber, and air conditioning contractors to complete their work so that the sheetrock can be installed. You know, it's great to have some homeowners like we have here to work with that are so enthusiastic and so involved in the job and are doing a great job in making the selections that are necessary for us to really move forward with this remodeling project. Now, this is a good one for you to follow along on, and I hope you'll join us each week here on Today's Homeowner.